Ooh, exalt beautiful code is the next one.
We've talked about that at length, and here's a great example that really summarizes the domain-specific language quality of Ruby on Rails, that you can make code actually pleasant to write and read, which is really funny to me because, as we talked about, when I started learning programming, it wasn't even a consideration. I didn't even know that that could be part of the premise, that that could be part of the solution, that writing code could feel as good as writing a poem.
Class project, application record belongs to account, has many participants, class name person, validates presence of name.
See, you could read it out. You didn't even change
It's
anything.
like a haiku or something.
Right. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, it's nice. It's really nice. There's an intuitive nature to it. Okay, so I have specific questions there. I mean, active record, just to take that tangent, that has to be your favorite feature.
It's the crown jewel of Rails. It really is. It is the defining characteristic of how to work with Ruby on Rails.
Yeah.
And it's born in an interesting level of controversy because it actually uses a pattern that had been described by Martin Fowler in the Patterns of Enterprise Application Architecture, one of the greatest books for anyone working on business systems. And if you had not read it, you must pick it up immediately. Patterns of Enterprise Application Architecture. I think it was published in 2001. It is one of the very few programming books that I have read many times over. It's incredible. In it, Martin describes a bunch of different patterns of how to build business systems, essentially. And active record is a little bit of a footnote in there. The pattern is literally called active record. You can look it up in there. It's called active record. I wasn't even creative enough to come up with a name of my own, but it allows the creation, the marriage of database and object orientation in a way that a lot of programmers find a little off-putting. They don't actually want to pollute the beautiful object-oriented nature of that kind of programming with SQL. There was a rant by Uncle Bob the other day about how SQL is the worst thing ever. Blah, blah. Okay, fine, whatever. I don't care. This is practical. We are making CRUD applications. You're taking things out of an HTML form and you're sticking them into a damn database. It's not more complicated than that. The more abstractions you put in between those two ends of the spectrum, the more you're just fooling yourself. This is what we're doing. We're talking to SQL databases. By the way, quick aside, SQL was one of those things that have endured the onslaught of NoSQL databases, structured list data, for a better part of a decade and still reigns supreme. SQL was a good thing to invest your time in learning. Every programmer working with the web should know SQL to a fair degree, even if they're working with an ORM, an object relational mapper, as active record. You still need to understand SQL. What active record does is not so much try to abstract the SQL away behind a different kind of paradigm. It's just making it less cumbersome to write, making it more amenable to build domain models on top of other domain models in a way so you don't have to write every damn SQL statement by hand.
We'll just say that active record is an ORM,
yes,
which is a layer that makes it intuitive and human interpretable to communicate with a database.
Even simpler than that. It turns tables into classes and rows into objects. I actually think SQL is very easy to understand. Most of it. You can write some SQL Golf too. That's very hard to understand. But SQL at its base, and much of the criticism against SQL, was it was written for human consumption. It's actually quite verbose, especially if you're doing things like inserts over and over again. It's quite verbose. Insert into table, parentheses, enumerate every column you want to insert, values, parentheses, every value that fits with that column. It gets tedious to write SQL by hand, but it's actually very humanly readable. Active record just takes that tediousness away. It makes it possible to combine things in a way that a humanly describable language just doesn't. It composes things into methods, and you can combine these methods and you can build structures around them. So I don't dislike SQL. I dislike a lot of things in programming. I try to get rid of them. SQL wasn't really one of them. It was just a sense of, I don't want to write the same thing over and over again. It was can we be a little more succinct? Can we match it just slightly better to the object orientation without trying to hide away the fact that we're persisting these objects into a database. That's where I think a lot of ORMs went wrong. They tried to live in the pure world of objects, never to consider that those objects had to be consistent into a SQL database. And then they came up with convoluted way of translating back and forth. Active Record says, do you know what? Just accept it. This record, this object, is not going to get saved into some NoSQL database. It's not going to be it's going to be saved into a SQL database. So it's just structured the whole thing around that. It's going to have attributes. Those attributes are going to respond to columns in the database. It's not more complicated than that. Stop making it so.
Yeah, but I should say, so I personally love SQL because I'm an algorithms person, and so I love optimization. I love to know how the databases actually work, so I can match the SQL queries and the design of the tables such that there is, squeeze the optimal performance out of the table. Okay, based on the actual way that table is used. So, I mean, I think that pushes to the point that, like, there is value in learning and understanding SQL. I wonder, because I started looking at Active Record and it looks really awesome. Does that make you lazy? Not you, but a person that rolls in and starts using Rails. You can probably get away with never really learning SQL, right?
As long as you want to stay at the entry level of competence. And this is actually my overarching mission with Rails, is to lower the barrier of entry so far down that someone can start seeing stuff on the browser without basically understanding anything.
Yeah.
They can run Rails new blog, run a couple of generators. They have a whole system. They don't understand anything, but it's an invitation to learn more. Where I get fired up, and this ties back to the AI discussion, is when that's turned into this meme that programmers no longer have to be competent. They can just, the AI is going to figure it out. The generators is going to figure it out. I don't need to know SQL. Active Record is going to abstract it away from me. No. Dude, hold up. The path here is competence. I'm trying to teach you things. I understand I can't teach you everything in 5 minutes. No one who's ever become good at anything worthwhile could be taught everything in 5 minutes. If you want to be a fully well-rounded web application developer, that takes years. But you can actually become somewhat productive in a few days. You can have fun in a few days for sure. You can have fun in a few minutes, in a few hours. And over time, I can teach you a little more. Active Record says yeah, all right, start here. And then next week, we'll do a class on SQL.
And actually, you have this beautiful expression that I love, that a great programming language like Ruby has a soft ramp, the ramp goes to infinity.
That's exactly right.
So, it's super accessible, super easy to get started.
And it never stops.
Yeah.
There's always more to learn. This is one of the reasons I'm still having fun programming, that I'm still learning new things. I can still incorporate new things. The web is deep enough as a domain. You're never going to learn all of it.